Hey guys, it's Kesara, and today I'm going to be doing my June TBR. I'm back! Hopefully to stay this time. Filming of the video is not the hard part. It is the editing and uploading side of it that it just takes so long compared to like other forms of social media. Like Instagram, you snap a picture, post it, you're good to go. Editing for YouTube takes a really long time. I just haven't had the patience for it. Honestly, I haven't been reading that much either, but hopefully we can get back into the swing of things and actually get some good reading done. I've been doing pretty well this last week, so that's why I was like really excited to post this video because I'm really excited for the books that I'm reading in June. Partially because it's Pride Month. I feel like LGBTQ books are just fun for me to read. I like reading them, so it works out for me because there's quite a few of those books that I have been wanting to pick up. Now, not all of the books in my June month are going to be related to that, but I'm just in like a happy, like looking towards the future mood. That's what I'm going for. There are some that are a little bit more serious, but that's definitely what I'm trying to go for at this TBR. For my classic for the month of June, I'm planning to read Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. So this is a book that has been on my list of classics for a while now that I just haven't been like digging into. And it's one that I really hadn't planned on picking up anytime soon because I don't have the physical copy of it, but it was available at my library and I felt like it was a good book to read during the month of June, which is Pride Month, because the main character of this book is intersex and I've never read any books with a main character that's intersex. So it's about a person named Cal, who was assigned female at birth and was raised as a baby girl, but as an adult lives as a man. So it's a really interesting concept, especially when it comes to like nature versus nurture, but it also is kind of like a historical contemporary in the sense that we get more than just this character's perspective because we get kind of the history of their family, which I always like those sort of broader generational stories. So I'm really excited for this because it's also about a Greek family and their life. I don't know how this is going to go because it is probably one of the longest books that I'm putting on my TBR for the month of June, and it's a classic. So that makes me a little nervous, but I think it's one that'll put me out of my comfort zone and I could still potentially really like it. So in the month of June, instead of doing a thriller and a sci-fi, which is generally what I try to do, I'm just not in the mood for thriller novels at all. I don't know why, I'm just not in the mood for it. I think I just want like happy and adventurous novels because it's summer and I just want to be happy, and thriller just does not make me happy. Instead of doing a thriller and a sci-fi, I'm gonna do 2 sci-fi novels because I just want to read more sci-fi right now. I don't know why. I think it's just like gets me excited about the future and I just have like that kind of outlook right now. So for the first sci-fi novel that I'm planning to read in the month of June, I decided to go with Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I just said I wanted to be like all happy and futuristic and then I pick a book about necromancers, but I've been meaning to read this book for a while now. It's a book that I bought last year around this time and I just never got around to reading it, but I'm really excited for this. A lot of people seem to like this book. It also seems to be a bit polarizing where some people like really love it and some people really don't like it at all, but I think that just happens with all really popular books and I'm excited to see how I end up feeling about this. I love that it's about necromancers, but it's like in a futuristic world because it's so different. Like I like those books that span the space between sci-fi and fantasy. I absolutely love that. I've heard this one is a little bit more to the sci-fi side because there's like space and there's like moving between planets and stuff like that, but at the same time necromancy feels very fantasy. So I don't know, maybe there's like a technology that makes necromancy like more of a thing. I don't know, but I'm excited about it. I heard that this book has a lot of like badass female characters and I'm really excited for that. So the other sci-fi book that I'm planning to read in the month of June is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. So this is a book that I've been planning to read for about 2 years now, like since it came out, and then it was nominated for a BookTube SFF award last year. I want to read it. I've heard really good things about this. Even though it's a sci-fi like space opera, it has kind of like high fantasy feels to it, which is just fantastic and I want that so much. So I feel like I could end up really loving this book and this series, and the second book in this series comes out very soon or potentially already came out. It's either in June or it came out back in May and I just missed it. Either way, the other book is a brand new release for 2021, so I definitely want to read this one so that I can continue on with the next book in the series as well. I don't know anything about this book other than what I've heard about like the atmosphere feel of it is, And also, I just really love that cover. That cover looks fantastic, and it just makes me super intrigued as to what is actually going to happen in this book, and I'm really, really excited for it. This is definitely one that I'm going to get to sooner rather than later. So for my wild card pick for the month of June, I decided to go with One Last Stop by Casey McKiston, partially because it's a new release and this is a book that I'm really excited to get to, but also because it's going to be my Diversathon pick for the month of June. I've been pretty bad at actually participating in this, even though like I really wanted to. That's mostly because I've been bad at participating in everything BookTube this year. Hopefully that'll get a little bit better going forward. So for the month of June, to read a book with an LGBTQ main character, and I'm really excited for this. I think this is the one that I was probably the most excited for because it's the one that I'm most likely to read anyway on my own. The point of this whole readathon is to read things that maybe are slightly outside of your comfort zone, to read something that you wouldn't normally pick up. So that's why I'm excited for One Last Stop, because even though it's by an author that I really like, because I really, really loved her previous book, Red, White, and Royal Blue, it's a lesbian romance novel, which I've never picked up a lesbian romance novel before. I've picked up a lot of other types of romance novels, gay romance novels, trans, like a bunch of different ones, but lesbian is just one that I haven't reached for before, so I feel like it's still stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit, even though I know this author is one that I would like their writing. So I'm excited for One Last Stop. I know absolutely nothing about it other than it's a lesbian romance novel written by Casey McKiston, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna end up loving it. Also for the Diversathon Readathon, the host this month is Dani Alvey. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'll put her information in the description down below and more information on the readathon itself, because I've been pretty bad at actually giving that information out this year. And it's a year-long readathon, so if you haven't heard of it, you can definitely still just pick up in the middle of it and it's not gonna be that big of a deal. It's a great readathon where we get to read books from a bunch of different places and different perspectives. So I'm actually really excited to continue on with it. So for my YA/middle grade book, I decided to go with YA this month, which is the one that I don't generally lean towards, but I just had this feeling that I really wanted to read this book, which is interesting because it's not a book that I had planned to read, and that's Ruin of Stars by Lindsay Miller. So this is the sequel to Mask of Shadows, which I read Mask of Shadows back in 2018. While the book really intrigued me because it had a really interesting concept that I really liked, I didn't love the book. I gave it like 3 stars and decided not to continue on with the series. But for some reason, that book has just stayed with me, and I remember it really well. Occasionally I'll think about, maybe I should continue on with the series. Maybe I should read the next book in the series. And this month I saw it was available on my library and I was just like, I really want to pick up this book. I really want to pick up Ruin of Stars. So I'm gonna pick up Ruin of Stars. This series is about a gender fluid main character who in the first book enters an assassin's contest. Like I said, has a really interesting concept that I'm really excited for, but at the same time, I don't know how much I'm gonna like this book. I'm hoping that I'm gonna end up loving it, because back then I was kind of really harsh on books, and since then I've kind of been less harsh on them. I don't know how to explain that, because in some ways I've been more harsh, but in other ways I've been less harsh. I think specifically on YA, I have kind of backed away from giving them lower ratings, partially because I don't read that much YA anymore, so I just read the ones that I really like now. So I don't know what I would feel about the first book if I went back and reread it now, but I have a feeling that I could potentially really like the second book just because of how much that first book has stayed with me, especially since it was a book that I picked up on a complete whim like 3 years ago, but yet has still really stuck with me in a way that I didn't really expect, because I read, 200 to 300 books a year. So since then, I've read like 600 other books, yet somehow that one I still remember very, very well. So I feel like this is a series that I could potentially really like if I give myself the chance to like it. So I'm excited for it. We'll see though. Fingers crossed that I'll end up loving it. So now we're gonna move on to the fantasy books that I'm planning to read this month. For the first fantasy book, I'm planning to finally get to The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. I picked up the 5th season back in, I want to say 2019. So it's been 2 years since I started this series, and I still have not moved on to The Obelisk Gate. I planned to do it last year. Things happened last year. Let's just forget last year even happened. I did finally reread the 5th season in anticipation of The Obelisk Gate, and I think I remember it well enough that I can finally read The Obelisk Gate, and I'm really excited about this. The reason why I haven't gotten to it is because it's kind of in between like high fantasy and then contemporary fantasy, if that makes sense. It's set in like in a dystopian world too, and I don't love dystopian, so I don't know. There's just so many things about the world building in this that don't fully fit into one category, but I think that's also what makes it great, and I'm really excited to see where this is going. I did really like the way the first book came together. I didn't love the ending, don't get me wrong. I didn't love it. I kind of really like the structure of it, and I'm excited to see where it goes in this next novel. Hopefully I can finish this novel very soon and move on to the last book in the series, because N.K. Jemisin is an author that I feel like I could potentially really like. I started reading her new series, With the City We Became, and I absolutely love her writing style and the way she structures novels and things like that. So I'm really excited to see that in her more high fantasy feeling books as well. So the next fantasy book that I'm planning to read in June is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nevo. So this is actually a new release in the month of June, which I got a little preview of from NetGalley. I got the audiobook from NetGalley, which I'm really excited to get to because Nevo is an author that I actually really love her writing style. Her previous two novellas that are in the Singing Hills series, which are Empress of Salt and Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, they are so beautifully written, and I absolutely love the world building in them. I like the first one a little bit more than the second novella. Both of those make me feel like I will absolutely love the writing in The Chosen and the Beautiful. The Chosen and the Beautiful is a historical fantasy novel, which you guys know I love beautifully written historical fantasy novels, and I have the faith in this author that she will definitely do it justice. I don't know anything about this book other than it's a historical fantasy novel set in the 1920s, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be good representation in this book based off of her previous novels, and that makes me really excited also. So yes, I'll be getting to The Chosen and the Beautiful very soon, and I'm super excited about it. The last book that I'm planning to read in the month of June is one that I've actually already started, and that's The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. This is the third book in the Gentleman Bastard series. It's not the final book. The next book in the series is not out yet, so I'm excited for the next book to come out, but I'm actually just really excited to get into this one because the end of the last one made me really excited for this one in particular, and while I feel like that particular ending is about to be resolved, it's gonna lead them into kind of like another really intricate like con and plot, and I'm really excited for it. I love these characters, I love this world, and I love this writing style because it's so detailed and there's just so much thought and consideration that's put into the plot and the complexity of this series. So I'm really excited to continue on with this series, and hopefully the fourth book will be coming out soon-ish. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. If you'd like to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you